Hey guys, hope you're all doing well and welcome to the 7th episode of Building Accurate Habitats in Jurassic World Evolution 2. Here, we will focus on a species of ornithomimid dinosaur, the Archaeornithomimus.
We needed something scary and easy to pronounce. You should hear a 4-year-old try to say Archaeornithomimus.
You should hear you try to say it.
Yeah, its name can be quite a mouthful. We will learn a little bit about this herbivorous dinosaur and then attempt to recreate its environment in an enclosure. So let's jump right in and start getting to know this ostrich-like dinosaur that was discovered by the explorer who Indiana Jones is said to be based on. For those who would like to skip ahead, I provided some timestamps for you to click. For everyone else, let's begin. Meaning ancient bird mimic, Archaeornithomimus was a species of ornithomimid or ostrich-like dinosaur that lived in present-day China, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan during the late Cretaceous period around 89 to 70 million years ago. This medium-sized ornithomimosaur reached lengths of 11 feet and weighed around 100 to 200 pounds. There is some solid evidence based on other Ornithomimosaura relatives that suggested Archaeornithomimus was a feathered animal, with very ratite-like feathers. Ratites are a very diverse group of mostly flightless birds such as ostriches, emus, and several species of kiwis, cassowaries, and rheas. Like other members of the Ornithomimosauria, Archaeornithomimus was likely an omnivore equipped with a horny beak, eating everything from small mammals, plants, fruits, and even eggs or hatchlings from other Asian dinosaurs. This is a very controversial take, as its beak could have been used for anything, so the consensus amongst paleontologists is that most likely it was an omnivore. Archaeornithomimus shares many traits seen in other members of its family, such as the Struthiomimus and Gallimimus, with long, robust limbs for fast running and a long, stiff tail to act as a counterbalance. It's assumed that this dinosaur could reach running speeds of about 30 miles per hour, about as fast as a modern day cassowary. It clearly used its blazing speed to escape from predators, such as the numerous raptors and tyrannosaurs that shared its late Cretaceous habitat with. Their head remains a mystery, though, as it hasn't been found yet. But as others mention, it was expected to be toothless with a beak like mouth, like with other dinosaurs of its group. Furthermore, its genus was mostly unknown, and it took paleontologists many years before they settled on the current genus that we have today. Every dinosaur enthusiast has heard at one time or another about the famous American Museum of Natural History expeditions to Mongolia in the 1920s. The most famous finds of these expeditions were the discovery of the small Protoceratops and its clutch of eggs. Lost in the glory of this discovery was the not well publicized Archaeornithomimus that was discovered in 1923 by explorer Roy Chapman Andrews, the same person that discovered the Protoceratops and its eggs. The life and exploits of this explorer were so unbelievable that the characters of Indiana Jones is rumored to be based on him, and many say that his life story could be titled Raiders of Jurassic Park. This initial finding included several remains of the Archaeornithomimus spread throughout the Iron Dabasu Formation, located in the Inner Nor region of China. Remains have also been found across Asia in Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. These unknown remains were named and described by Charles Whitney Gilmore in 1933 as this new species of Ornithomimus, Ornithomimus asiaticus. Years later, in 1972, paleontologist Dale Russell placed it as a new genus named Archaeornithomimus, meaning ancient bird mimic. It was named this way because Russell thought it was a 95 million year old dinosaur, which made it one of the oldest ornithomimids known at the time. Dinosaurs enthusiasts might remember Russell for his infamous Dinosaurid theory. He proposed that Troodon, a famous big-brained dinosaur, would eventually develop human-level intelligence to much criticism, but I digress. In 1990, paleontologists David Smith and Peter Galton, in their first comprehensive description of the Archaeornithomimus fossil, chose specimen AMNH 6565 along with the foot as a lectotype. To break it down for you, a lectotype is a biological specimen later selected to serve as a definite type example of a specimen or subspecies, when the original author of the name did not designate a holotype. A holotype is a single physical example of an organism known to have been used when the species was formally described. A good example is a holotype for Neanderthals belonged to just one skeleton. Based on this one skeleton, researchers believe that Neanderthals were short and hunched over. Turns out that this holotype or skeleton that Neanderthals were based on was nothing more than an old man with arthritis. In another note, foot bones found in the Arundel Formation of Maryland were referred by Othniel Charles March to Allosaurus medius in 1888. Years later, in 1911, paleontologist Richard Swan named these foot bones as a new species called Dryptosaurus grandis. Then in 1920, Gilmore renamed these foot bones as a new species of Ornithomimus. Since Ornithomimus grandis was already named, he named it Ornithomimus affinis. Russell also studied these fossils years later in 1972 and renamed these foot bones as those of Ornithomimus affinis. However, in 1990, Smith and Galton studied these bones and they concluded that they did not belong to Ornithomimosaur, and it actually belonged to a species of theropod. One of the more recent studies done in 2001 by Bruce Rothschild and other paleontologists, 229 foot bones referred to Archaeornithomimus were examined for signs of stress fracture, but none were found. Other studies by paleontologists allow us to know about the environment in which it lived. Now that we have some knowledge in Archaeornithomimus, let's talk about the environment in which it lived in to give us a better idea what its enclosure will look like. Archaeornithomimus lived throughout much of northern Asia, mostly in present-day China, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. As mentioned earlier, most fossil remains have been found in the Iran-Dabasu Formation. During the late Cretaceous period, the environment present on this formation consisted mainly of floodplain terrains with braided rivers and meanders connecting to the ocean. It had a warm, humid subtropical climate with plenty of rainfall, and since it was the late Cretaceous period, it meant that angiosperms heavily influenced the foliage, along with ferns, cycads, and some types of ginkgos. These ancient braided rivers and meanders contained these broad vegetative floodplains that sustained populations of diverse dinosaur fauna. So here we have our Archaeornithomimus enclosure, and based on what we learned, let's go ahead and do a meander, and that's pretty much a winding river. Simply putting it down, it's got some sides where you got some slopes, and then you have some areas around the bend where it's just like a big drop off, similar to what we've seen in the prologue of Jurassic World Dominion. But make sure your slope is all the way up, and let's do a small radius. This is going to do our river or meander. So we start from here and kind of follow a winding path. And in some areas you want to go deeper than others. Right here, I think it's pretty good. Go a bit flat, like I said, not too deep. And again, if you want to go again, just like that. So we have our nice little meander. And one of the things we're going to do now is put our water. Kind of gives us an idea of what we're dealing with. So here we are. Insert meander. Oh, messed up there. Let's go ahead and we'll leave blank that. We'll fix that later. And it actually kind of blends in, so it's actually not bad. But you see these drops off right here? Drop off, sorry. There's gonna be some areas where it's really, really steep. And there's some areas where it's not gonna be as steep, and that's where, that's the difference between the meanders. You have some areas where it's steep and some areas where, slope blends in nicely and it's not that bad. So let's start up with the really big slopes. We're just gonna slightly raise the terrain around here. Do it around like so. Not too much, But now you can kind of see that nice little bend, if you will. So let's do that, and let's do the same thing for the other side. Really tall. This side, like I said, we're going to smooth it out. And here, we'll finish it off again by racing the terrain. Looks pretty good, right? Now, let's actually switch over to our terrain. Start off with sand, and sand is going to be where we have our slopes, so right about here. And those really big drop-off areas, make it smaller, and we're gonna add dirt. Make this bigger, actually. And also, one thing you can do, which is always a big pro tip, is to always put rock under your water or river. Gives a bit of a depth to it. It just makes it look deep. And let's go ahead and fix this. I guess it is kind of annoying me. They just land the train this way. And I think we're good. We'll leave it like that. I think the cars can go through. We'll use our little moment here to raise this terrain a little bit more. Then with this one. And after all, it's your enclosure. But, you know, just make sure to include these little parts to better enhance your Archaeornithomimus enclosure. Adding some dirt again. And since we read it was really, you know, hot and subtropical climate, we're going to leave a lot of the grass here. We'll leave some areas with some sand, like so. For the most part, we're going to leave it like that, and then to blend in the sand with the grass, throw in some dirt. I think we're good. Now onto our rocks. All optional to you, but I think if you want to go ahead and use tropical rocks, temperate rocks, even the taiga rocks are good. Just not the desert ones. So, you know, go ahead and have some fun with the rocks. I always kind of put them all in a little group together. And we'll finish it off with the temperate rocks. One here, one here. I like these to make little arches in the rivers, but I think it just might be too tall. There we go. Looks pretty cool. You can also do another one, so if I just do this one in again, and there you have it. It's pretty cool. But yeah, just try not to add too many rocks. Just enough. Now we have that. Let's go ahead and do our nature. Since there's a lot of angiosperms during this time, let's go ahead and use our seed plants as our angiosperms. And let's put them all throughout the bank, so that's how we learned was the habitat back then. Most of the vegetated tended to stick to the rivers, so we'll do that. We'll add some cycads in here as well. Oh, we messed up. That was actually supposed to be a drop-off, but I guess we can fix it. Let's do our thing right here. There we go. I think it looks much better. Yeah, leave it like that, and we'll add some cycads again. I think right here we'll add the cycads here. And right here as well. Now, I think we're gonna add some ginkgos, on this side. There you go. I think our enclosure is taking shape. And we're gonna use Temskia, which is like Cretaceous ferns. I think that's gonna be the last thing we're gonna add. Yeah, let's make this other side same thing right here. All Temskia. You know what? Let's add some ginkgos here as well. Sorry. And we'll finish it off with some seed plants again. One thing we can do, right here I'm leaving it a bit open, but one thing we can do is make a radius smaller and just kind of like erase parts of the habitat where we could say our most trafficked areas. And we're gonna put dirt. Nice little trick I learned on Reddit. And that's just gonna give the appearance of herds of animals walking through the most trafficked areas after they've kicked up the dirt and the grass. Make it a bit bigger. And here you have it, guys. I think we're done. This is our Archaeornithomimus habitat. We have a nice little meander here. Of course, we could have made it a bit steeper, but I don't really like messing with the elevation too much. It makes the dinosaurs a bit wonky in some of the animations. So I think this is pretty good. And it's got nice little open plains here where they can run through. So yeah, I think we did a good job. What do you guys think? Go ahead and comment below. But I think it's a pretty good representation of what its habitat will look like. Also, if you want to make Archaeornithomimus feel more at home, you can add some dinosaurs that it coexisted with during its era, but with some substitutes. You might also have to play around with your dinosaur synthesizing and sandbox options to help with the dinosaur compatibility. Nevertheless, the dinosaurs that coexisted with Archaeornithomimus in the Irundabasu formation include theropods such as 20-foot Tyrannosaur Electrosaur, which can be substituted with Changosaurs, a similar-sized late Cretaceous Tyrannosaur that also lived in China, albeit in different locations. It just barely missed coexisting with Archaeornithomimus by about 4 million years. You also have the 20-foot Therizinosaur Erliosaurus, and honestly, there is no good substitute for this dinosaur aside from the Indoraptor, which is said to have Therizinosaurus DNA. We'll probably see a Therizinosaurus sooner than later in the game, as a new Jurassic World film Dominion has confirmed the appearance of Therizinosaurus. Other theropods include the 26-foot-long Oviraptorosaur Gigantoraptor and the small 5-foot Maniraptoran Abimamus, which again are so unique that there really are no substitutes to choose from. One that doesn't need a substitute though is the Velociraptor. The only difference that we know is that the Velociraptors were small in real life, about the size of a modern-day turkey. While the Jurassic Park Velociraptor design is based on Utahraptor, Spielberg decided to name it Velociraptor because it sounded much more vicious. Archaeornithomimus wasn't just only surrounded by dangerous carnivores, it also lived among some herbivorous and hadrosaur dinosaurs such as Bactrosaurs, which can be substituted with the late Cretaceous hadrosaur Dielorotidon that also lived in China, but in a different region than Archaeornithomimus. You also have the iguanodont Gilmorosaurus that can be substituted with Iguanodont, as it's the only iguanodont in the game. Theropods such as 30-foot Titanosaurus or Dinosaurs also roam the area and can be substituted with a Nigerosaurus, only because it's the smallest theropod in Jurassic World Evolution 2 that matches its size. In the Besekti Formation of Uzbekistan, Archaeornithomimus lived alongside the small ceratopsian Tyrannoceratops, which can be substituted with Pachyrhinosaurus because again, it's the smallest ceratopsian in Jurassic World Evolution 2 that matches its size. There are as well other obscure dinosaurs with little fossil material, but only time will allow us to discover more about these findings. The Archaeornithomimus has yet to make a big screen debut in any Jurassic Park movie franchise, but it has not been overlooked. In one of the news articles on the Jurassic World website, one slide talks about how you can go to Isla Nublar faster than you can say Archaeornithomimus. This is also expressed in the Jurassic World movie, as Claire Dearing mentions the dinosaur's lengthy name to justify the meaning of the Indominus Rex, as something that kids should be able to pronounce, much to the amusement of Owen Grady. Despite this, it has not been confirmed whether or not the animal will actually be seen in any future movie. It will most likely not be in any future movie, as it is not mentioned anywhere in any of the merchandise, nor is it on the official species roster. It does appear in the most recent Jurassic World games in Jurassic World Evolution 1 and 2, but made no appearances in other Jurassic Park video games. It has also made no other appearances in popular media, Could that can change as more of this dinosaur is discovered? This fast, ostrich-like dinosaur is a beautiful but deadly addition to your Jurassic Park. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.